Targeted Justice Media.
Good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of The Gavel, featuring attorney Anna Toledo. Ms. Toledo is the senior attorney and general counsel for Targeted Justice. She has a background in constitutional and environmental law and is an experienced litigator, including 2 cases at the U.S. Supreme Court. And here's Ms. Toledo.
Hello, welcome to episode 39 of The Gavel, a podcast coming to you from Washington, D.C., bringing you the news about our struggle and our fight to shut down government weaponization. I am Ana Toledo, an attorney, your host and an attorney for more than 30 years of experience litigating civil rights, First Amendment, environmental law, and now the end of government weaponization. There are tons of things to cover this week. I see the light at the end of the tunnel getting brighter and brighter. And it is my desire that you see it too, that you connect the dots too and see it as well. So as you know, that my goal is to end weaponization, not just for United States citizens, but also for all the victims around the world. I am not leaving DC until the very last victim is set free from torture. So I'm going to go into my Bible. I have 2 Bible verses for today, but before I do that, please help us defeat censorship. We are severely censored and demoted in all social media. So I ask that you please share, like, and subscribe. It's the only way we can defeat the deep state. When the word gets out, that's how we can defeat them, because normies get, instead of being in the silos of our community, it gets out to normies. So please, I ask you that you like, share, and subscribe, particularly with people that are not targeted, and tell them just, you love me so much. Just listen to this for one day. It's not that long, and you might learn something along the way. Anyways, I'd like to invoke the Holy Spirit, because there are so many demonic and satanic things flying all over the place that I know I've read this before, but it's just one of my favorite Bible verses, and it's found in Ephesians 6:12, that says, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms." To that, I have to add that that's exactly what we have seen this week. Heard of people drinking human blood and killing babies and raping little girls and boys. And that is certainly exactly what is going on. But the good news is that it's getting exposed. And when it gets exposed, justice is coming. And I also have to answer with a verse found in Isaiah 6:8, that it says, "Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send? And who will go for us? And I said, here I am, send me." And that's exactly how I feel. I'm here in DC fighting for all of us, all of you victims of government weaponization, and to set us free from the horrific circumstances that many of us have had to undergo. Anyway, so before going into the week's news, I'm going to play for you the week in review, because Melissa was doing that. For those of you that do not like to read, I think it's important that you know what the Targeted Justice newsletter had this week, particularly because we really want for the intention at noon to start becoming like a snowball and for everybody to be practicing it. So here it goes. A special thanks to Sean for doing this.
President Trump has done an interview with NBC nightly news anchor Tom Lamas in regards to the discombobulator. Lamas asked President Trump about the sonic weapon used during the Maduro capture. It is a microwave weapon, not a sonic weapon. Venezuela reported over 100 guards and soldiers were killed in the U.S. operation to capture Maduro. The Titan Corps previously reported that more than 200 of these Vercator Reltron weapons were built between 1983 and 2005. Most of these weapons are mounted on satellites and are designed to fire a rapid pulse of microwave beam energy at a precise point on the ground. The GPS coordinates are accurate to within 1/2 inch, 1 centimeter. This is how the guards were disabled. The U.S. Navy has EA-18G Growler aircraft that carry an electronic warfare EW pod that also contains a Reltron, except it fires in a single large pulse that destroys electronics in radar stations and missile launchers. Targeted Justice has clearly stated that the weapon is called a Reltron, and it is manufactured by Physica Applied Technologies. We had also repeatedly claimed that this is the same weapon that causes Havana syndrome and has been used illegally on thousands of civilians worldwide. We have the civilian registry of Havana syndrome led by Dr. Len Baer to show that civilians are being attacked.
Targeted Justice's attorney and host of the Gavel, Ana Toledo's birthday is coming up. Ana Toledo has moved from the comfort of Texas to the cold streets of Washington, D.C., so she can be the voice for victims of government weaponization. She is constantly handing out flyers and setting up meetings with members of Congress to get this satanic program shut down. She has vowed to not leave Washington until every victim is free. Her birthday is on President's Day, so please send your wishes. Also, please consider donating so she can continue living in D.C., which will allow her to fight for your freedom. Have an amazing birthday, Ana.
Since its emergence in 2016 among U.S. diplomats in Cuba, Havana syndrome, anomalous health incidents, or AHIs, has sparked intense debate regarding medical findings, causal mechanism, and intelligence attribution. Intelligence attribution has been a key hindering factor for the recognition of the diagnosis by the U.S. government, serving as an excuse to ignore diagnosed cases and a reason to push them into the psychogenic category. This challenge has been addressed by identifying genuine validated IHI-1 cases in the 2024 NIH study. Different from IHI-2 cases that lack neurovestibular validation using Hoffer 2018 criteria. Further, our reanalysis of the NIH data reveals subtle but consistent brain changes in IHI-1 patients, strengthening the case for a real diffuse brain injury syndrome. Civilian registry documents similar patterns in diagnosed U.S. residents with incidents on domestic soil. Yet, without an intelligence stamp of approval on the attribution, they are simply dismissed. This brings us to the need for decoupling of the medical diagnosis of Havana syndrome, AHI-1, from the attribution discussions. Not because attribution is not important, but because it hinders medical inquiry into a genuine novel neurological threat. Havana syndrome, or anomalous health incidents, AHIs, represents a distinct clinical phenotype characterized by acute neurological symptoms followed by chronic deficits. Despite mounting evidence of objective brain changes in validated cases AHI-1, diagnosis remains entangled with intelligence efforts to attribute actors. This coupling hinders medical progress, denies care to victims, and perpetuates controversy. We advocate for decoupling. Medical diagnosis should rely solely on clinical criteria, independent of attribution.
From the zapper to the silent night, Target Source LLC has been providing victims of government weaponization with devices that helps reduce their gang stalking and stop their microwave weapon attacks cold in their tracks. Targeted Justice has serious concerns that hundreds more of these torture weapons will be placed in orbit as part of the Golden Dome. The proposed system is a weapon of mass destruction, which is prohibited under the 1967 Outer Space Treaty. Further, it is a weapon of torture violating the Geneva Conventions, and it also violates the 1972 Convention Treaty on Satellite Liability.
Calling all digital warriors. Please share, repost, copy and paste this video on all social media platforms. We are still looking for volunteers. Let us know how you can help. And the skill sets that you have by emailing us at tjustice2@proton.me. Put volunteer in the subject line. You can watch targeted justice videos by going to the following link. Buy some cool gifts, shirts, hoodies, cups, keychains, and more by heading to the following links. Please consider donating. Targeted Justice is non-profit, and the donations are tax deductible. Thank you again for watching this video. God bless. God bless. God bless.
And God bless our fantastic volunteer, Sean. Sean has been doing this for, I think, I don't know, for a little over a year. And every time he gets so much better. And that is the magic of volunteering and doing things from the heart. You think you're just helping somebody else, but there's a twofold benefit. Number one, when you help others, you shift the focus from yourself onto somebody else, and you're not so sad anymore about your situation. And number two, you acquire a lot of skills. So give it a shot. Now let's go for, I wanted to sort of translate a little bit, because a lot of the language regarding the Havana syndrome, it's, for me, I don't know for you, but for me, it's a little, too high there, because Dr. Lambert writes, very scientifically. But what we mean by the decoupling is that, the attribution, who's doing it, should not be a factor when determining, that civilians are victims of Havana syndrome and the assessment. So basically what Dr. Baird correctly proposes is, let's decouple, let's remove, let's not, combine one thing with the other, because it's really different fields. One is in the medical realm and the other is in the engineering or intelligence realm. So honestly, one thing has nothing to do with the other than, one causes the other. But I urge you to very carefully read Dr. Len's articles, Dr. Lambert's, so that you become very familiar with this condition that most of you that have been attacked with directed energy weapons for a while must have, because even V2K is carried out with high power microwave weapons. That's number one. Number two, you need to be very fluent in the language of Havana syndrome, because this is going to be spoken about in many places, and you should be very well, express yourself well regarding it. And on February 3rd, CBS reported that Senator Jean Shaheen and Susan Collins wrote to Peter Hegseth, warning him that his decision to reassign the Havana syndrome investigations would damage the efforts to support the victims, the anomalous health incident victims. So that is it's a good sign that there's people from both sides of the aisle that are concerned about the investigations, because obviously nobody wants them to be stalled or hidden, which is what the intelligence community, aka the CIA and the FBI, want to happen. So now let's go for the news, because there's so much, and I don't want to keep you too long, but please stay till the end, because I saved the best for last. There is this week has been unprecedented in terms of the news, and I'm not talking about Bad Bunny and his disastrous halftime performance, which I'm going to cover it in one of my Mira, because this is not the place. But as a Puerto Rican, I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. So those of you that want to read about it, go to anatoledo.substack.com. Now, the deep state with the Epstein files, the deep state is really collapsing. It's 3 million documents. There's supposed to be another document dump in I don't know when, but it's huge. It's 3 million. It's like boom. So, but here's the thing. It will be the gift that keeps on giving. There have been a file that I talked about it last week that seems to be like a summary of the torture and psychological operations performed on civilians in Australia. While it is not about somebody or some people in the United States, it does make reference to United States officials. And it reads like, I said to you, it reads like what your entry, your diary or your log in a fusion center should look like. Okay, many targeted individuals have been vindicated by the exposure of the Epstein files. First one of them is Liz Croking. She is an independent journalist who exposed Pizzagate, and she exposed the Epstein files, and she's targeted. And she's a courageous person. They tortured and killed her dog. And one of the things that I think that let me just show you this video, which is, I found it to be, it seems to be funny, but it's really not. And it's the feeling of everybody right now with this exposure of the Epstein files, because it's not just the Epstein files, it's also the Fulton County ballots of the stolen election. Let me just show you this. It's just that all the conspiracy theories are no longer conspiracy theories. So this is sort of I thought it was hilarious. And one of the things that I really like about what's happening is the following. I think that they are paving the way for when they expose the program. Like they have been talking about people drinking blood, human blood, killing babies, raping little girls, torture videos. So when they expose this program, people are going to be, oh yeah, right, that's part of the Satanism. It's not to normalize evil deeds, but I think it's sort of, it works in our favor to prepare people for what's coming, because it is coming. Now, today, I don't have a video for you, but I did want to mention, and I'll probably cover it next week. Just today, Pam Bondi had a hearing talking about various things about the Department of Justice, and she had a confrontation with Thomas Massie that did not look good for her, because she made personal attacks against him, calling him practically a loser, which he's not, because as many of you know, the American people are very grateful to him, because he's the one that insisted and persisted, along another Democrat representative, for the bill that ordered the exposure of the Epstein files, for which many people are grateful. So I think it's very uncalled for and unprofessional of Miss Bondi to call him something like a loser, whatever, something like that. It was just not a good look, and I think she's tone deaf. But anyways, and this is all of what I just said to you was not on my list of good news to tell you. Now I'm going to start telling you them. Number one is that a senator that has been the one serving the longest in the Senate Select Intelligence Committee has sent a letter. He has repeated, sounded the alarm on the abuses of the intelligence community, and he has sent a classified letter to the CIA. But along the classified letter, he sent this other letter to Mr. Ratcliffe that reads as follows. I write to alert you to a classified letter I sent you earlier today, in which I express deep concerns about CIA activities. What this tells me is that Senator Wyden probably knows that the criminals at the CIA hide the correspondence that Mr. Ratcliffe receives. So he wanted to make sure that it was not swept under the rug. Of course, we do not know the contents of the document, but he is, as I said, in the Senate Select Intelligence Committee. This is the committee that followed the church committee that exposed MK Ultra. And so he has a lot of experience on intelligence activities, and he has been sounding the alarm on the abuses. In fact, last year, I just learned in the hearing I went to yesterday that last year he told all the senators that the telecom companies were giving away their information without notifying them. So, tasked with the oversight of the intelligence community, he is one of the few lawmakers who is allowed to read highly classified information about ongoing government surveillance, including cyber and other intelligence operations. But I doubt that he has a security clearance level 35 to know about the criminal program that tortures Americans in their own backyard. But as the programs are highly secretive, Wyden is barred from sharing details of what he knows with anybody else, including most other lawmakers, except for a handful of the Senate staff with security clearance. So as such, Wyden, he is a privacy hawk. This I got from TechCrunch. So those of you, he's from Oregon. Those of you in Oregon, I urge you to write to him and support the communications that some of us have already had, alerting him about the criminal unacknowledged special access program that targets and tortures innocent Americans and civilians around the world. If you are in Oregon, you cannot miss this opportunity that he is looking into what the CIA criminals are doing. Okay, so that's good news for me. Anything that all of the news this week, most of them have to do with the fact that the CIA is being exposed for the criminal enterprise that it is. Do not forget, and when I say illegal and criminal, it's because they are not supposed to operate within the United States, yet they have the Denver domestic operations, which are the ones that run this horrible and satanic program. Now, so more shall be revealed with that letter. We are going to follow up with that. And I have been delivering information. I'm not going to tell you exactly what I've been doing because, the criminals, they will, even though they track me through the top of my head, it's not the same as the gang stalkers knowing where I'm going and what I'm doing or what I said to whom. Okay, so this week I attended the Senate, the subcommittee hearing on the telecom. You see the little arrow there? That's me in the back. So it was the Senate subcommittee on privacy technology, and the Arctic. They had a hearing called Arctic Frog's Accountability, Oversight of the Telecommunications Carriers' Responses to Jack Smith Witch Hunts. The senators grilled representatives from T-Mobile and Verizon, and the AT&T guy was unscathed because he's the one that told Senator Cruz that he had a subpoena against him. So they didn't really badger him as much as they did the T-Mobile guy, which he got the thing on the mail and he's like, yeah, here, have everything. He didn't check anything. And one of the things that I wanted to bring your attention to is the admission. And this is something that for those of you that have not submitted your position regarding the quiet skies to Senator Rand Paul, this is one of the things you should mention. They admitted, at least T-Mobile said, that they get 300,000 requests, 580,000 requests a year for spying on you. Listen to this.
I want to try to get some basics understood here. Mr. Nelson, you testified that there were 582,000 demands on your company, T-Mobile, by government for information similar to this situation?
Over 582,000 in 2024, correct.
Is the same thing true for AT&T?
Hundreds of thousands, yes.
Mr. Miller?
hundreds of thousands.
There you have it. And you know what? I am so absolutely certain that 99% of those hundreds of thousands and 582,000 are against targeted individuals. I'm absolutely certain. And of course, we don't get any notification whatsoever. So why is this important? You think, oh, that's Artifrux. No. We have senators. We have Senator Josh Hawley, Ashley Moody. They are on our side because the FISA reauthorization of Section 702 is coming up in April. And this is what Senator Lee had to say.
That is particularly relevant in the coming weeks involves Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. As the name implies, this is supposed to be about getting communications of foreign adversaries, not American citizens. But as with what we're covering here, these requests from telecommunications companies backed by a non-disclosure order, so too with FISA 702. Somebody can, metaphorically speaking, be run over without ever knowing what happened, without ever knowing that they were victimized. Perhaps ever, perhaps not for months or years after the fact, after the damage has been done, after their privacy has been invaded, after their constitutional rights have been trampled.
What Senator Lee doesn't know, or doesn't seem to know, is that the way the FISA Section 702 is done, we don't have access to that. And that is why every single one of you needs to file your Privacy Act request. I'm going to talk about it a little bit later, because those applications have to be on your file at the FBI and at the DHS. And the time is now to expose this, okay? So Josh Hawley also did a good presentation. So I really urge you to look into this, and we'll talk in a little while about the submission, because I went to the Senate Homeland Security Committee, and they are still receiving submissions regarding the Quiet Skies. If you have not done yours yet, you can look in the show notes, and I have a link there to the newsletter I made where I provide you with the addresses and the email addresses and the web addresses for you to do everything. But please do it. This was an important opportunity that we all wanted. Now that we have it, we have to make use of it. Now, Targeted Justice had been sounding the alarm. Today, it was published an article regarding the internal bonifications, the bonus structure that FBI agents get and supervisors get for putting people on the TSTV, for classifying them as domestic extremists. Well, Targeted Justice obtained evidence regarding the bonuses paid for placing people on the TSTV for the years 2021-22. And several FBI whistleblowers have alleged a system of quotas and bonuses for leadership in handling domestic terrorism cases, which could relate to watch listing processes, since the TSTV nominations often stem from terrorism investigations. These claims suggest perverse incentives where field office leaders, the special agents in charge, receive five-figure bonuses ranging from $30,000 to $50,000 for meeting arbitrary metrics, such as case opening, arrest, disruptions, or classifications as domestic violent extremist. This is where the FBI becomes human traffickers, because you know that once they put you on the list, they literally traffic you. Many women and men are raped while incapacitated, not just physically in person, but also remotely. And we know about the cameras, and we know about the recordings, and we know about, all the horrific technology they use. And so the FBI, this sort of structure, bonus structure, is basically human trafficking. It's getting paid. They're talking about Epstein selling little girls. Why isn't anybody talking about the FBI placing you on a list to get you raped and to get you tortured? It's the same thing, isn't it? So this is something that it's happening to this day, even though Mr. Patel has told Congress that the FBI is not targeting anybody anymore. So another good news. This is really good because we have here the receipts. The whistleblowers, Steve Friend and Sarah Ping, they talked about all of this. So I urge you to read the article. It was published today in Substack and on X, and share it far and wide because the receipts are there. Now, truth is trickling out and it's going mainstream. I don't know who of you heard that they are after 30 years, they're reopening the murder investigation of Kurt Cobain and saying that his widow was an MK Ultra CIA asset and that she had to do something with his death. I don't know if it's true or not. I'm just doing here a fair report. But the important thing is that they said that she was MK Ultra. So they are normalizing the language. And just this week, retired CIA officer Kevin Shipp, who held a high position within the CIA, was interviewed in Redacted, which has a lot of audience. As you remember, James Martinez had been in Redacted also talking about the MK Ultra. Well, he talked, Mr. Shipp talked about the crimes committed against him and his family, including his children, in U.S. soil and in violation of his constitutionally protected activities. And let me just show you. I have 3 videos of him because it's Mr. Shipp's contribution to us is huge because it's a validation. You just watch this.
So you and I have talked a number of times here on the show, but today I really wanted to zero in and focus on MK Ultra and mind control and these nefarious weapons that the agency has at their disposal, the deep state has at its disposal. Maybe you can just take us to a 30,000-foot level. When someone says, this is conspiracy theories, these are propaganda, they don't have this stuff. What do you say to somebody like that?
Well, that's what I used to think. When I was a good CIA officer, I didn't think those things existed. This stuff is compartmented at the high levels, probably top secret SCI. I didn't know they were there until they were used on me.
Wow. That's what the Lighthouse has been telling me. And because I tend to think all the CIA employees are criminals, but he was a CIA employee, a high-ranking one, and he didn't know it existed. So then he talks about how they put him in a house that was poisoned, and they were poisoning him. And I talked about this here before, that you can use a black light to detect the poisoning in your house. So take a listen to this.
Into a house that the CIA knew was contaminated. The previous residents had been evacuated because they were very ill. So they moved us into that house intentionally on orders of the chief of the base. And within 3 months, everybody started getting desperately ill. My kids' throats were swelling up. I had to take them to emergency room a couple times. We were having severe headaches. My wife was basically bedridden with dementia. So there was something we knew there was a poison in that house. It wound up.
There you have it. We know about poisons, right? We know, but this is good that it's coming out. He's a very credible person. And I like the way, his demeanor and everything. He's just so calm. And this is a way that we should try to be when I know it's very personal and very, very painful, but when we're trying to explain it to other people, and I tell you this with utmost respect, if you want to be believed about what is going on and exposing the program, do not go into the most horrific things, because it's like when a child is trying to walk, they first need to crawl. So you cannot pretend that people can become sprinters without having crawled first. That's just my advice. This is the last one I have on him, and it just tells you about the stress of these CIA criminals and the kind of life they lead.
In the book, one statistic really, I want to go more into this MK Ultra program and these weapons and all of that, but I just want to say, just to talk about like the demons that work inside the CIA. There's some good people there, but as you point out in the book, most of them are single. They don't have families. Most of them are alcoholics also. This comes with at least half of them.
Yep.
Yeah. They're sad people, sad people.
Yeah. That's a very good point. When you get to the upper levels, especially in operations where the secrecy is, where the power really is, these people are malignant narcissists. They don't believe in the Constitution. They believe in their own advancement and the power and advancement of the CIA at all costs.
Yeah, malignant narcissists. And I would add satanic worshippers, but that's just me. Anyways, so Pete Hegseth, though, today, notice how the attacks against the CIA, they are involved, allegedly, in the stealing of the elections, okay? They were involved in Arctic frost. It's all a constellation of horrific things that the CIA has had its claws in, okay? So you have Arctic frost. You have Epstein, that he was a CIA asset and he was protected by the CIA. You have Mr. Shipp exposing them now. We have Pete Hegseth just today denounced that former director of the CIA, Gina Haspel, bribed her own analyst to change the story on the China virus, about on the origins of COVID, while Anthony Fauci was running in and out of the CIA headquarters without signing in or out. This was exposed today by Pete Hegseth. And what I think that all these people are doing, because remember, the CIA was behind Arctic frost. Obama is a CIA child. He would go in these, since he's been groomed since he's a child by the CIA. So, and Trump hinted that he's going to get, well, he didn't hint, he stated it, that he's going to be getting indicted. So what we see is all these, they seem random, but I don't think they are random. I think that the CIA domestic operations, the clown show under the Denver airport, is going to get shut down. And those are the same ones that perpetrate your torture. Anyways, so another good news. Catherine Herridge finally acknowledged that there are civilians that suffer from Havana syndrome. And let me just show you that, because we had been, pummeling her with this and she would not budge. But something made her include the word, see here, military operatives and civilians that are suffering from Havana syndrome. Also last week, she exposed the following, that there are credible sources. As you've seen, criminals have been attacking Tulsi Gabbard and making up stories and fake whistleblower complaints. Well, why? Because this is what Ms. Herridge reports. Credible sources tell her that elements of the intelligence community, federal law enforcement, and the Congress have targeted Tulsi Gabbard, a initiative group or DIG, because it revealed uncomfortable facts and findings on several matters entrenched members of these bureaucracies don't want out there. I cannot think of a more uncomfortable fact and finding that our own government has been attacking its citizens with directed energy weapons. So she says that the push has been to disband, dismantle, or diminish the impact of the working group. One example confirms through multiple sources that the report and findings into directed energy attacks, or HAIs, were finalized and prepped for release weeks ago. But there is strong intelligence community resistance to releasing it. So there's a lot of pressure, but Tulsi is a tough cookie and she is batting it back. So let's just hope that good prevails versus evil. Yeah, it will. It will, because there's God is on our side, and I have no doubt of that. Anyway, the last video I'm going to show you today is this. This is amazing to me. And those who are constituents of Padilla, is it
those people protesting, practicing?
I don't know if it's Representative Padilla or Senator Padilla. I'm not sure if he's a senator or a representative. But look at the lie. This is a blatant black and white lie by the acting director of ICE. This man has got to be prosecuted. This is complete and blatant perjury. Listen to this.
Those people protesting, practicing this First Amendment right, photos of them, data taken, they're not being placed in any kind of a database?
There is no database for protesters, sir.
One of your officers in Maine said to one of the individuals protesting, we're going to put your face in a little database. What does that mean? Do you have a little database of Americans?
No, sir, we don't.
Then what do you think your ICE agent was doing to this individual when he said those statements?
I can't speak for that individual, sir, but I can assure you there is no database that's tracking United States citizens.
There you have it. I don't even know. Like, honestly, you cannot say it's in silos, because even gang stalkers in the corner know there's a database. They all know we're on the list. I don't know how that man went in there and stated that under oath. To me, that's unconscionable, but he will have to assume the consequences for that. So those of you for whom Padilla is your congressperson, write him a note and tell him about the 278,000 FISA warrants issued between 2020 and 2021 against innocent Americans in violation of their Fourth Amendment. And that is exactly one of the little lists that the FBI and the FISA court and the DHS and the CIA and the NSA have to weaponize the government against law-abiding Americans. Now, this is fun. The criminals, they're so stupid. I'm sorry. They're so dumb that you need to connect the dots for them, right? So what happened was this last week, for those of you that haven't read it, please read my article that I wrote called that is about the hunt, when the hunters become the hunted. Well, somebody, what they do is that they're all monitoring, just like they monitor, right? My video has always like a 30-40 second lag, because they have to make sure that they pull the plug if I say something they don't want, right? And I don't know what that is, because I'm dying to say it to you. Anything that would do that, just to continue collecting evidence against them. But here's the thing. Look at this 907 times. Somebody used an email that ends in 19@gmail.com. If that is your email and you're not a criminal, change your password, because they're using your email to forward it 907 times to the criminals. And the reason is they couldn't connect the dots as to how these people were so organized. I think that's why they spread this article, like wildfire, because they couldn't figure out why in these deep state blue states the gang stalkers turned against them. They trained the gang stalkers, and now these gang stalkers, with all the skills and the experience they have turned on them and using their databases, because remember, the fusion centers are operated by the states. So if Minnesota, that is a deep blue state and a sanctuary city and sanctuary place, well, their fusion center is now going to operate against the very DHS that trained those people to be gang stalkers against us. Anyway, so if you don't have an email and you're not subscribed to me with ending in 19 at gmail.com, then that was, that's their own. I know that they're always, we live rent free in their brains, in their little tiny little brains. We live rent free. Anyways, so as I mentioned last week, I have decided to stay beyond April because I am sure that even if we shut down the weapons by then, that's when the real work begins. So I'm going to stay here indefinitely. Until now, I have decided at the very least until June. But it's very likely that'll be until the end of the year. And who knows, maybe I just stay here because there is just so much to do for the next years, trying to make whole all of you and to make sure that we get, the health services and the restitution and the justice that we need, right? Now, the power of intention, please set your alarm at 11:57 every day Eastern time. So like it's for noon Eastern time, and dedicate 5 minutes to having either prayer or intent on saying, the targeting program has ended. I am now completely free. The targeting is over. I walk in full freedom and peace. My life is mine again. This one I really like. My life is mine again. All targeting has permanently ceased. And just repeat it like a mantra or just make your little prayer. It's just that all of us united at the same time, it will have an effect, but we need to be disciplined about it. And I am talking about myself too. I need to set the alarm every day. Now, thank you all for your birthday wishes. I am answering. I have already answered a lot of people, and I'm going to continue to answer during my birthday month, because even though my birthday is on Monday, next Monday, President's Day, I'm celebrating the birthday month because it is a huge accomplishment that I am here talking to you today. Criminals had other plans. They never thought I would escape Puerto Rico. And look at me here, fighting to shut them down. They never saw it coming. Everything they're doing is backfiring against them massively. Everything. They're just so dumb. They never play chess. They cannot even see 2 or 3 steps ahead. Anyways, if you have not submitted your to the Quiet Skies, again, please use the information I have given you here. Or it's in the show notes, you have the link to my Substack with all the information for you to submit it. Please. This is every single targeted individual needs to demand that Rand Paul extend his investigation to the illegal watch lists that the FBI continues to maintain on innocent Americans. Okay. And also the Privacy Act request for the people in Europe. Remember, if you are part of the 27 countries of the European community, you also have a right to file with DOJ, with FBI, with DHS, because those agencies are comprised within the privilege, the extension, the statute that gives Europeans the right to file it. Not only can you file it, but you also have a right to demand, just like American citizens, United States citizens, you have a right to demand that any inaccurate or wrong information about you be corrected. This is our goal, every single one of you. And to those persons that think, I sent it, you send it by priority mail. I sent it, but it's still stuck at the post office. Guess what? You have evidence that you sent it. Good thing about priority mail is I think they pay you up to $100 if they lose the mail. Okay, so what you just have to do is go into the tracking, and if they haven't delivered within the time that they promised to deliver, you file a claim. There is a section in the website. As soon as you file a claim, boom, they deliver, and I tell you because it has happened to me. This Saturday, if you need help with your Privacy Act request, you can hire the services of Jill TJ at proton.me. She has a lot of experience because what she's seeing now is that the criminals are saying, oh, no, you didn't provide enough information or it's incomplete. So she has this experience to know what exactly you need to include. So, you can hire her to do that for you. Also, this Saturday at 2 p.m., Saturday, Valentine's Day, 2 p.m., is Targeted Justice monthly meeting. I'm going to be doing live streaming. I hope that all of you in the DMV area, please show up. We need to make a group, and I am counting on you to be there at 2 p.m. in the Martin Luther King Library. And for the rest of you, well, join us through the live stream that we're going to be having. Okay, I'm going to hope to be answering questions. Thank you so much for being here. I certainly hope to have you next week. Let me see if there is any questions. Like, Targeted Justice website doesn't block anybody. Okay, if you're being blocked, it can be the hacking that you have in your computer, your phone, but we don't block anybody in the Targeted Justice website. You might be blocked for violating the community guidelines in the newsletter. Okay, there are certain guidelines that you have to adhere to in order to not be blocked. And for those of you that are subscribed to my newsletter, I am begging you from the bottom of my heart, also please stick to the topic, because you know what happens after we've said many times, these are the rules, stick to the topics out of consideration for others, etc. And then you start mentioning and talking about something else. Well, what does everybody think? That you're a perp. So you don't want that. Don't do it, please, because it's rude. I don't want to be rude to anybody. I don't want to be rude to anybody in my Substack newsletter, because I very much appreciate my subscribers that keep me going. Okay, I'm just checking if there is any questions here that I should look at. Thank you. Thank you for sending the letter. Look, ultimately, what we want to do is we're going to file lawsuits demanding compliance. That's why you need to keep your records. Because this is remember, the prohibited access files is where they hid our information, and the restricted access files. Now that we have the evidence that Christine Crowder, the Catholic school teacher, was placed by the FBI on handling code 3, now they cannot deny us our nomination forms. Please send your Privacy Act request. In the show notes, you have a link to targetedjustice.com/privacy act. You have all the information you need there. Just need to copy, send it, and be disciplined about it. Okay. Let me check about my case of being targeted. Look, we're all of us. We're in this together. I'm not gonna address individual. Yes, thank you, Judy. This is really important. She's such an activist, and she's an incredible digital warrior. We really, really need to get active on the internet. Justo, you have trouble getting into the internet. There are public libraries. I know that your equipments are hacked. They're public libraries. So you just have to get in the car and drive there. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. I think, yes, I'm going to be celebrating. Hopefully, that's one of the things I'm going to be celebrating in the monthly meeting. So for those of you that live close by, please, I'd love to meet you or have you there. If I've already met you, please come visit. And anyways, there's no more questions that I'm going to answer. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you next week. The news are going to continue to become better and better. The CIA is done. They're done. The Aurora, Colorado people, they're going to have to move. And that's going to be the beginning of our freedom. Good night, everyone.